Well, for more on this, we are joined now from Chevy Chase, Maryland, by Joel Rubin, Executive Director of the American Jewish Congress and a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, I should say, under the Obama administration. And Joel, I think I should tell the viewers, you yourself on this program have been sometimes a pretty severe critic of the Trump administration. Did Christine Amanpour, though, cross a line here?
Well, Kalev, it's great to be with you, and thank you for having this segment. She absolutely did. There should be no mistake made that denying the Holocaust in any form plays into the hands of extremists, and it helps to foment anti-Semitism. And the language that Ms. Amanpour used was the kind of language that confuses people about the Holocaust. And there should be no confusion. Kristallnacht saw 7,000 businesses, Jewish businesses, destroyed, 267 synagogues destroyed. It was the beginning salvo in what became an industrialized mass murder of millions of Jews. And it should not be confusing to people about what that means. It's okay to criticize, and I do want to say this to your point, it's okay to criticize the Trump administration's policies. That's what we do in vibrant democracies. But to analogize with the Holocaust is beyond the pale. It just shouldn't be done.
Now, there are some that are calling for retraction, apology, dismissal. What do you, there's been no reaction so far, we should say, from either CNN or Christine Amanpour to this cries of objection. What do you, or let's say the American Jewish Congress, what would you like to see from her or from CNN at this stage?
We'd like to see a clarification for certain. I think that a clarification, without a doubt, about what the intent is with that kind of a description, or what she really meant to say. And again, on President Trump's record on human rights abroad and at home, there are very severe problems with it, and those should be called out. But it needs to be clarified that the Holocaust is a different dimension of suffering. The Jewish people, we suffered, but not just the Jewish people. It was a calamity for millions of people in Europe, people of Polish background, people who were of Gypsy background, of gay background. It's just, the list goes on and on of the suffering. I even struggle because it's so overwhelming. And I think for CNN and for her, they need to come out and set the record straight about what they're trying to analogize and what they're trying to say about President Trump's record, and try to make sure that we don't play into the hands of anti-Semitism and into those of Holocaust deniers, which is, and it's very important to point out, a very problem right now on social media, on Twitter in particular. Holocaust denial is running rampant, and there seems to be no rules about what is permissible on that website. And so we have real challenges, and we need to have some lines in our public discourse and make clear what is and is not true.
Well, let's broaden that out to the point you raised, because it is a time of heightened political rhetoric in the United States, certainly in this transitional period, maybe even reaching new, if it's possible, even new peaks. So, I mean, what does this incident say about the situation, the period that you're in the United States now, and what has to be done to maybe lower the temperature overall, not just when it even comes to misplaced Holocaust analogies?
I think right now what we're witnessing, and it's happening again in political campaigns at this moment, in Senate campaigns, for example, where one of the candidates who's Jewish in Georgia, there was an elongated nose put on his face in an attack ad against him. Anti-Semitism is being used right now as a political weapon and as a tool to mobilize and motivate voters, and to put Jewish communities in particular into positions of deep concern about our safety. And I personally, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. The Tree of Life Synagogue was only a few blocks away from where I grew up. My parents were there for Shabbat the night before the murders there. These are not games. And this is not just politics as normal. This is beyond the pale of acceptable rhetoric. But we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing it in social media postings. We just did a report of the American Jewish Congress, and we sent a letter to CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, highlighting multiple instances of Holocaust denial in tweets on his platform that he, in Senate testimony a couple of weeks ago, said he wasn't going to block. So we have real problems, and we've seen the social media dynamics fomenting and fostering anti-Semitism and hate speech, and it needs to be clamped down on, and it needs to be rigorous. And right now, that's just not being done.
All right, Joel Rubin of the American Jewish Congress. Hopefully, the temperature will be brought down after this, especially very divisive period in American history there in the American political debate. Thank you for joining us on I-24 News.
Thanks, Colette.